Two empires are about to clash, and it will make for one truly epic siege battle. Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Jackie Fish, and welcome back to some more Medieval Kingdoms 1212 AD. Today we are diving as the trebuchets unleash hell upon their enemies with a pretty exciting... This is only a 1v1 siege battle, however, it did look really cool and the timing was decent. So I assumed it would actually end up being a pretty good battle. Let me also go ahead and turn on the amazing 1212 soundtrack as well whilst we go on. So over on this right-hand side, we do have the forces of the Abbasids. They are currently stacked up with a pretty decent front line. They obviously get more money in this siege battle, so they can kind of splash out, get some decent units, get some heavy, hard-hitting infantry. And we also actually have 2 units of these Nafatun throwers as well, the dudes who throw the explosive grenades. So I'm excited to see what they can do in this siege battle. They also have 2 units of trebuchets just bombarding the settlement right now. And it'll be interesting as well to see if these guys do decide to go for more of a breaching style siege, like trying to just get them holes in the wall, or if they do plan on maybe going for just kind of damage on the defending forces. Then on the defending side of things, we do have an army from the Sultanate of Rum, so a real battle for the east right now, and obviously you can see some of their frontline infantry, heavy spearmen stacked up. They also have 2 Nafatun throwers of their own, so I think these units on either side are going to be a really important one, but it's also going to be very interesting to see if they can try and counter snipe their opponents' Nafatuns as well with missiles, artillery, because the defenders also do have a catapult situated, I assume, towards the back of the settlement. Yeah, they have a catapult right here and plenty of archers. And one of the great things about the archers for the Sultans of Rum is they're actually really good in melee combat. They're kind of like a mixed hybrid between infantry and archers. So yeah, these ones are definitely ones to look out for, but they were very expensive as well. You can obviously tell with that little spear icon next to the bow. So right now the assault is going on. It doesn't really seem like the defenders are planning on trying to hold these walls, which actually does make sense. You may think, oh, why would you not defend the walls? But because this is a simple 1v1, they just don't really have the manpower to do it. So they're going to have to just rely on, taking the walls, taking obviously a little bit of damage. But yeah, defending this in a layer, I think, is a much smarter idea, considering it is just a 1v1. There's still plenty of ways they're going to be attacked from. Yeah, they got, what, 1, 2, 3, and 4 paths into the inner layer, so they're going to be under a lot of pressure. But yeah, defending out here would have been a bit risky. They would have just kind of suffered from getting completely overrun. We have some pretty good axemen as well set up here. This is a great shock infantry and a really nice move here by the attacker to send these guys up first, because if there was anything on the walls, there'd be a great unit to try and breach them. Right now, though, the artillery doesn't really have much to shoot at, though. I assume they are out of range of everything kind of closer into the settlement. And there's no real reason to try and cause any breaches because there's no defense happening out here. I assume these can be moved, though. They are on wheels, so they can push up these artillery pieces and try and get them a little bit closer to the defending force. Okay, guys, the gates have been taken, and now they prepare their assault for the inner layer. Some arrow fire from the defenders is starting to kick off now as they fire over their buildings. Obviously, a lot of them arrows actually hitting the buildings. They're trying to obviously soften up the defenders as best as they can with these archers in a pretty awesome position as well. It always made me upset you could never mount these walls like you can the walls. It just would have been so easy for them to do, and it would have made the battles really good. But right now, the assault is coming in. The spearmen are preparing to defend, and here we go. You can really see the quality difference as well on these units. This front line is not really well equipped to hold this forever. It's not exactly like it's an elite foot guard. Do keep in mind that the defenders will not be having that much money compared to the attackers. I think it's 25% different funds, so these spearmen are going to have to really fight like lions and hold this position down, especially against the axemen, who are so perfectly equipped to deal with them. But I also imagine the archer fire from up there, from the defensive buildings, will be helping them out, firing in on this position, really supporting. Also seems like we've got a bit of a cavalry charge coming in here, trying to soften up the spear wall. Unfortunately, though, that is not going to go too well. And this unit of, I'm going to try and pronounce that name. It's just going to, it's going to do some damage, actually, surprisingly. I guess heavy cavalry into light spears is always going to do some damage, but sacrificing that unit of cavalry this early on can definitely come back to hurt the attackers in the long run. They also have a large amount of their army still outside of the settlement. You really want to be getting these armies, this army inside the settlement, like like at all force, you know, just have everybody inside so that you're not going to be delayed between attacks. Because I can see exactly what's about to happen. The army's going to commit, and it's attacking in piecemeal, and the defenders can just really just focus down what they want to deal with, you know. That's why you always want to be throwing everything you have at the enemy all in one big go, because if you do that, the defenders get really stretched and they find it very difficult to actually deal with what they're fighting. But right now, the defenders leaving that entire army. I mean, it's moving now, but you need to be going in with just one big blow. Because right now, if any of these positions break, the defenders can quite happily commit their reserves to that position, knowing that they're not going to be under pressure anywhere else. Whereas as soon as you start to see like every single flank crumble, you really don't have the opportunity to commit your reserves exactly where you want them to. So I definitely think the attacker should have been a bit more patient, but obviously he has the quality advantage, so he can commit more soldiers into this fight. His archers as well wouldn't be a bad thing to bring up some of his archers to start counter-firing, and I think that's exactly what they are doing. There's a nice position right here by the defenders as well. Having this position set up is going to be pretty valuable because it allows them to basically have a little bit of extra cover from any missiles, and then also fire down as the attackers come up this paved way, which would be pretty nice. Archers now forming into that loose formation will give him a bit more protection from incoming missile fire. But I think the majority of missile fire is really focusing in on these infantry blobs, and I think it's a bad idea whatsoever. Just trying to thin out the herds, reduce the numbers of the attackers is going to be pretty huge. And that's exactly what they are trying to achieve right now. And honestly, I'm super impressed with how well the light infantry of the defenders is holding. Especially against the Axemen as well. I thought the Axemen would absolutely cut through them, but right now, it's looking pretty good. And they're able to actually rout these guys back. I mean, one of the bad things of the early period in 12-12 is morale is such an issue, which really hurts the attackers. But yeah, look at this. Like, this is exactly what I mean. Your assault has ended now. Your infantry is routed. And now your rear guard, which is where the more elite soldiers are now all the way back here, just not doing anything. And that's why you need to have everything inside of the city to assault. Otherwise, you're just going to be like in such a bad position right now. These Axemen preparing for another charge, but really suffering. And yeah, this is a clear example of what not to do in an attacking. Again, I don't want to be rude or anything to the players, but you want to, like, as advice, you always want to have your army inside the settlement before you initiate your attack. You want to be assaulting on every single position. Luckily, they have 2 units of infantry pushing up this right-hand side. But right now, again, like, more reserves can be committed in. And yeah, this battle's looking pretty scary so far for the attackers. Numbers-wise, the defenders are still under pressure, but they managed to really go ahead and take down that advantage. I mean, the real pain is going to be when this ammunition runs out. The archer, the focused archer fire from the attackers have done a great job at killing these archers. They're down to 40 men now. Awesome artillery going in and a perfect hit right there. Killing 5 or 6 soldiers is not bad. But, you know, again, the attackers, you guys do have to keep in mind, they've committed a lot of their weaker early period units at this point in the game. Oh, that was a perfect hit right there. But they committed a lot more of their weaker units, which have absorbed a lot of the ammunition, really taken the main brunt of the defense. And, you know, as you can see, the javelins are coming out. They have been able to rout these, you know, outer layer forces. That was actually a really nice volley there by the Gazir. But also, as you guys have seen, like, they've taken a lot of damage as well. You know, this unit breaking onto pure missile fire that is coming in. And yeah, they need more of their army inside the settlement, because these are the guys who are going to be doing, you know, the damage. You know, they're heavily armored. They've got decent shields, good spears, good swords. And you can always just, like, set them up here as well. Like, you don't need to have them, like, in the fight. You can just set them up, stage them here to ready to throw up. Awesome, Nafatoons coming in. This is going to be huge and such a good defensive position as well. This is how every defensive settlement should be in Total War. Like, having these avenues to utilize stuff like that is absolutely huge. They only ended up throwing up 1 grenade. Volley, but it seemingly was enough right now. And now the infantry once again clashes in. There you go. The Nafatoons coming in as well, burning the soldiers alive. Oh my god, it's brutal. Unfortunately, some friendly fire, but I guess the defenders deem it worth it as they push on to their next opponents. Yeah, it seems like they've kind of given up. And this is what I'm saying. Like, right now, they can happily, give up this position and set up another defensive line, because there's nothing to punish this whatsoever. You know, you have all your infantry out here, you have all your cavalry out there. There's nothing to come flying through this gap and then rear charge and hit that and then hit that. You know, right now the defenders can play very, very sloppy. Well, not sloppy, but they just don't need to do anything, because we're waiting on this entire army to enter the settlement. A unit of Axemen are ready to charge in now, and again, I imagine we'll do so much damage on this charge, but again, it's going to be the missiles, it's going to be the Nathatoons lobbing down explosive caskets. It's going to be hard going, and I definitely do feel for the attackers right now. This has been an uphill battle the entire way. Luckily, their trebuchets are now in range of the defensive position, and they are able to really break these kind of outer layers. The cavalry moving in now as well is pretty good. And yeah, you can definitely start to use these streets to their advantage. Start moving around. That cavalry charge is going to rip through them malicious spearmen. They don't stand a chance. And honestly, you can probably rear charge into all of these guys. The Axemen moving around very effectively. I think they have been able to break this. No, they haven't even been able to break this barricade yet. The artillery, along with the condensed kind of focus fire of the missiles, has been enough to send another unit packing. I mean, these guard foot guard are just amazing. These Golem foot guard are absolutely insane. Able to send them back once again. The cavalry is now running amok inside the settlement, and they've managed to clear basically the entirety of the outer defense, but once again, there's this, they need their army inside. They need to be putting up the pressure. But again, there's no point sending in these 2 units of infantry if you're not going to be putting pressure elsewhere. You need to be assaulting all 3 of these points at once, or going really hard on one point. If you want to focus down one point, that's also a good tactic. They are bringing up some of their own foot guard. We get a nice little look at them right here. Again, heavily armored, great at exchanging in melee and also in missile. But yeah, they need to get their army ready to push in here, because again, your units are just getting picked off by the archers, who are, you know, now almost out of ammunition. So this is really the time they need to start putting the pressure on if they can. One of the things they could definitely do as well is get a unit of archers here, turn on fire arrows, and then just burn these catapults who have kind of overextended a bit. You can definitely destroy these very effectively. The trebuchets are also moving up as well. I imagine they'll have range on most things if they do just sit where they are and just start hammering them. Obviously, this is like a main focus point for your artillery, would be right here. You definitely want to try and soften this up. As more of the Axemen turn up, they're going to get melted by the Nathatoons, right? Well, maybe the Nathatoons won't be able to fire from here. We'll have to see, because maybe they can't fire through their own units. So actually, the Axemen are in a pretty good position right now. And then the arrow fire immediately comes in. This is exactly what you want to be doing. You want to be focusing down them Nathatoons with all of your archers. They'll drop pretty quickly. That's kind of the downside of the Nathatoons, is the fact that they are very vulnerable to missile fire. And you can kind of like zone them out almost. And as I was saying, like, if they just had their army inside of the settlement to begin with in one big go, they would have been able to do that from the get-go, with their archers very effectively being able to just hammer the Nathatoons whenever they come into range. Right now, though, the archer fire is heavily focusing in on these spearmen. They are on shield walls, so they have a pretty good defense. But as you can start to see, the ammunition is running dry for the defenders. They don't have much to hammer, which is great news for the attackers. They have still plenty of ammunition left on these guards' foot. Over in these 2 positions, and on top of that, they also have their heavy elite infantry now pushing their way up inside the settlements. They also have, obviously, access to that. They just need to get this infantry up. They also have their own Nathatoons as well, which can quite happily hammer away at the defenders. The artillery is still coming in again, I think, focusing down on these guards' foot, but luckily some of the defensive buildings are actually helping them, you know, kind of play that defensive line. As the soldiers dodge and weave through the stakes, the arrow fire continues to come in. They definitely need to try and break this barricade. They'll be met with some foot guard, but that should be not, you know, too much of an issue, as they'll continue just to kind of smash away at the barricade, looking for a breach. The barricade should go down momentarily, and there are also gaps that they can definitely exploit if they want to. If they get another unit up here, they can, you know, kind of use that gap to their advantage, get their way round the flank, and then really do some damage. I'm surprised these axes haven't done more damage, though, to this front line. Like, they've actually kind of struggled to break away. The arrow fire is doing a decent amount of damage, already taking down 20 of the Girard cars. but still, there's still plenty of them left remaining, and they really just need to commit more of their army to this fight, you know, really throw everything they've got, because again, they don't have too much left. For some reason as well, we're bringing the trebuchets. Surely the trebuchets have range on anything they want to shoot. More infantry has been thrown into the fray. And again, now we're finally starting to get some of the meat of the attacking army lobbed in. These guys will be more than well equipped enough to push through the defensive line, especially with the support of that archer fire coming in. The trebuchets would have been great to honestly like soften up this defensive position up as well. That's what I would have used my trebuchets for. Really try to soften up this inner layer with the support of the arrow fire, and you'll break through it in no time. The left-hand side is struggling massively, and the spearmen have actually rallied forward over the barricades themselves. And they've been able to rout the enemy defensive units. Like these kind of weaker lower tier units need support. They need them higher tier units to be able to break through. And right now they are just charging in one by one, and they're dying one by one. It's giving the defenders the perfect opportunity to take these guys out. And this just feels like a very disorganized attack. And once again, another unit flees for the hills. And yeah, you know, you saw infantry back here just waiting to be committed in. They have also sent some men over on this right-hand side as well. Again, this is a pretty good position to attack because there's the levy spearmen over here, which would be quite easy to kill. But also, they have the tower here as well, which is firing down, killing a handful of soldiers. So they could have definitely just focused on this left 2 points. In a 1v1, you generally can. You don't have to be focusing on every position. They are looking like they're very much close to breaking through, though, with the artillery support and also the actual elite infantry. This is a 3 golden chevron heavy infantry unit. They need to be careful, though, with that artillery not to kill any of their own soldiers, because I think the defenders are definitely running low on resources, and they do not want to be overcommitting, or yeah, I guess overcommitting their artillery and killing their own resources. They're able to now finally make a breach point, and they need to obviously focus this down heavily. They've been able to destroy the majority of these stakes as well, which is good for their cavalry. But yeah, if I was them right now, I'd be trying to lob in my cavalry as best as I could. Maybe committing over on this left-hand side as well, because these spearmen have chased some of the routing units. Oh, well, this is exactly what you do then. You bring all of your cavalry down to this left-hand side, because these are axemen, right? And you smash through this side. There are some stakes here. Actually, I guess you'd have to destroy the stakes first, but there's nothing really to stop you. Yeah, you just bring all your cavalry in. The defensive force now is also, you know, suffering a lot more damage, and they're clumping up as well, which is easy pickings for the artillery, honestly. The artillery is going to be able to find its way in onto this big blob and probably rack up a decent amount of kills there. The guard foot archers as well have racked up 200 kills, my god. Yeah, and these artillery pieces, unfortunately that volley missed, but if they get any direct hits in these dense shield walls, that is not looking good for them whatsoever. Like that, all it takes is 1 or 2 artillery strikes, and that's going to send, you know, just absolute mayhem through the ranks as the infantry of the more elite soldiers push their way forward. They are engaged against some of the guard foot archers, but you can just see the holes in the line as the artillery comes in. Imagine the disdain you would have, the absolute horror as like a massive boulder comes in and just absolutely smashes your right or left flank. The damage that would cause would just be horrific. And there you go, flaming strikes directly into the center. Oh my god. That is absolutely brutal. And that artillery could definitely end up winning them the battle, honestly. They've been able to deal with the left-hand side. There are still some Nafatun throwers left remaining. The artillery, though, coming in clutch and really, you know, picking up from mistakes earlier the attacker made. And he still has an entire another piece as well. I mean, I can only feel like the attackers have a very good shot of winning this now, just because of the sheer, you know, the soldiers clumping up and the artillery coming in once again. It's finding its mark, and they still have so much ammunition left as well on the other units as well. We're taking a nice little overview of the battlefield. The Nafatun throwers are now coming in to try and salvage the situation. The Nafatuns on the right-hand side are actually out of ammunition. They got 94 kills and been thrown into melee here. Not looking to give up the right-hand side easily. And you can definitely not blame the defenders for committing so much here, because they have that tower and the tower will be providing them with, you know, that little bit of sustained damage. Every couple seconds, it fires out some arrows, and every like four or five volleys, it gets a kill. And that adds up over the course of an entire battle, so that's probably why we're seeing the defenders really focusing here as another artillery round comes in. Yeah, I mean, there's just not much left remaining. The right-hand side now is being committed. They actually do have a unit of the tabula rasa out of the early period now. These guys do have a lot of chevrons, so they might actually have the armor piercing take care of the guard's foot. But there is a lot of archers here, and we also have the Nafatoons going in as well. Both sides just not caring about friendly fire whatsoever. They're just like, yes, some of you will die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make. And you can see like the armor value as well. You can physically, oh my god, that was brutal. You can actually like properly see the high tier level armor that these guards do have. I think it's Nafatoons from both sides now playing almost volleyball-esque power with these grenades as both sides lobbing them in. But obviously the attackers will be getting a better end of this deal, considering the fact that, you know, these are expensive units going up against some not so expensive units. I mean, look at them volleys. The Nafatoon throwers are trying to counter Nafatoon throw as well. Not a bad idea, honestly. Both sides running very low in ammunition. The artillery is still coming in as well. Oh my god, that looked like such a brutal hit there with the trebuchet. This battle has just turned into absolute mayhem and chaos. There's still actually an entire unit of archers left over here. And some cavalry has made its way outside of the settlement, I guess, to hide from the artillery. The cavalry has been brought up as well. I mean, this is a Mamluk heavy cavalry, or is this early cavalry? I mean, either way, this is heavy shot cavalry. Just charge it in at this point. I mean, I guess they have to be very careful of the spikes. There's not a lot of the spikes didn't get destroyed. They can't really afford to charge that. But yeah, look at that. Like, a lot of units are just getting very close to routing. The artillery coming in and once again doing lots of friendly fire. Both sides just not giving a F about any friendly fire. As more infantry gets committed in. This is like the last reserves now. The left-hand side has now been broken, though. The guard archers, the foot guard, have now proven their worth, able to break that left-hand side. But the defenders still have that cavalry, and I think they could really use it very effectively. If they can just like lob it through the center, that would be enough to win the day. They also still have all this artillery left as well, which again is just bombarding away these dense formations. But I can definitely see why the attackers just, you know, cannot give up this central plaza. They need to keep the defenders locked in here so the artillery can come in and do exactly what it's doing right now. They've also got what remains of their archers going in, and they really are just feeding in a few like weaker units into this fight. So whenever the trebuchets hit, they hit with ferocity. Able to break the attackers quite nicely. And the arrow fire coming in as well. The general has now made his way inside of the settlement. Yeah, I mean, there's just not really much left. The Mamluks over here have dismounted. Not a bad idea, obviously. Want to try and destroy these barricades or just push their way up, depending on if they want to get any more cavalry in. And they've just found themselves very vulnerable right here. A nice little counter charge there by the defenders. Able to really just smash in and do so much damage to these dismounted. But the defensive positions, you know, proving their worth. The general coming in. I think the cavalry does need to be a little bit careful. Yeah, of its own spikes. Charging onto its own stakes is a little bit scary. And they can end up losing their general. I think luckily the general is here, so he should be safe. But a lot of the unit is going to probably die. But they managed to kill one of the enemy units as well. So not too bad there at all. Actually, only 2 of the horses have gone down so far. So I guess they're actually being okay. Yeah, they've lost a few to the spikes. Nothing too crazy. And now they have that cavalry advantage. And I think they might be able to bait in some of these. The artillery comes in. Any good hits on the general? Oh, I think 1 or 2. Yeah, actually a lot of good hits there. Killing almost half the unit. Along with the spikes. And again, the thing is, the spikes are now broken because of that cavalry moving in. So the general can now make his way in if it wants to. This unit has to move in now. Obviously, as you can see, the spikes are broken, but defenders realize that. You need to be a little bit careful with a few of these ones, but as long as they set their formation up correctly, they should be able to basically go through unscathed. And that's exactly what they do. And they're going to go immediately into these foot guard, able to break them. The foot guard are in loose formation, but that was such a bad charge. Oh, no. And now the counter charge coming in from the general. I think the attackers might be able to claim this one. They are fleeing, but they're going to take casualties as they do that, trying to bait out the defensive general, and they are charging in. Over on the left-hand side as well, the formation has now breached, and on this left-hand side, we're getting very close to a break as well. I think the attackers might have that, and it really comes down to the sheer amount of artillery fire that was able just to kill so many soldiers. Like, as we were saying, like, the attackers definitely played a sloppy beginning of the battle, and the artillery really came in to save them. But obviously, as the attackers, you get that 25% extra funds, so that kind of allows you to be a little bit more risque in the battle itself. Are they able to kill this general yet? No, the general unit is still marching. I mean, all you have to do is just go after them. The Naphthons are coming in, but I don't think it's I mean, maybe it is worth it now they commit like there are only 2 units left in here. Yeah, there you go. The Naphthons coming in and absolutely devastating the enemy general. Another volley coming in as well. They're firing on the run there as well. There you go. The enemy general has been killed. The Naphthons coming in. Is it going to be enough to kill these guys, though? I mean, there's still some infantry left. The left-hand side is going to break momentarily. The cavalry hitting into the back of these foot guard. And the Naphthon throwers obviously just going to make their distance and take them out. You can see that they're just going to pull away, then turn around, volley into the back of these foot guards. That's probably going to be the battle right there. Yeah, that's going to be enough to rout them, I think, very, very soon. Infantry pushed up, taking the city center. Immediately countercharged, though. And probably routed. Yeah, immediately countercharged and routed. I mean, maybe they stand a chance if they can kill the Naphthons, and maybe there is a chance. They still actually have 2 units left. Oh, my God. The defenders have this battle. 100% they do. Unless the Naphthons can rout the enemy, I think it's over. I mean, maybe not, though. They have front line to defend this. There's 1 unit left. This battle's actually turned out to be super, super close. And now the Naphthons are out of ammunition. There's a unit of guards here. And I don't know if the attackers have enough. They're going to sit back and say, pretty much, bring it on. And it looks like the battle's going to be over. I mean, the defenders have that. There's only 13 seconds left, so I guess the attackers give up. It's classed as a draw, but no way was that a draw. Definitely the defenders have that battle, I think, because they just have that fresh unit of guards left remaining. So there we go, guys. That did end up the battle right there. Big shout out to the guys who sent in this battle replay. I am always on the lookout for more replays, so if you have any good 2v2s, that's generally what I try to do, 2v2 siege battles, then send them my way. I'd love to see them. Let me know what you guys thought of this battle down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one.